can certainly, to spiritually, mentally, and physically rise above any form of cancer in one's life through the embodiment of positivity and inspiration.
On March 17th, 2009, Hanspaul was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, and since, Hanspaul's mission has been to eradicate the negative meaning of cancer by spreading his own personal story. Welcome to Ambition Nation, where barriers are broken and goals are met. Without further ado, let me introduce and welcome to our show today, Hanspaul.
Hey Sarah.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you for having me.
What was your initial thought when you were first diagnosed with cancer? Was it sudden, or did you know it was coming?
I remember it like it was yesterday, actually. My initial thoughts was a sense of relief. I know it may sound odd, but that's the first thing that's how I processed it at first. Reason being is prior to this, I'd been suffering, been losing weight. I always felt constant fatigue and just breathing pains. So when the doctor finally said that this is what's wrong with you, I felt relieved that now they can actually look into it and I can start getting better, like on the road to recovery. So, like not knowing what's wrong with you, I find is the most unsettling thing.
Yes.
So that's the advice that I offer others that are viewing, is that never settle for when it comes to matters of your health. When your body is screaming at you that something's wrong, listen to it, go get checked.
I recall reading this on one of your blogs, and I quote, "That was my awakening, and it allowed me to live in the moment."
Yeah.
Why was this an awakening moment to you?
How could it not be? The biggest realization that came out from this experience was knowing that tomorrow is not guaranteed to us. All we have is this moment right now, and in this moment we just have to focus on worrying less about what our future holds for us and to pay more attention of just living what we have today. To be in a space that I'm conscious about this, to know that we need to live in this moment, that's my awakening every day.
Absolutely. So you're living in the present moment. Would you say that you're living in the present moment ever since, or before that were you still living in that present moment?
I would say that this experience definitely helped trigger that instinct in me. And just bare essence, plain and simple, we can't live anything that we haven't encountered yet.
Absolutely.
So focus on what we have today and now.
Now, I'm sure you may know that some people slip into horrible depressions, understandably so. But other people, just like you, are looking at it in a whole different scope. What has enabled you to look at it in such a way?
For me, I was able to cope because that's the role I played for my family. I felt that I was in a position where I was consoling them or reassuring them that, guys, it's okay, things are going to be okay. Even though I didn't know that things were going to be okay. There was no guarantee on that. I just felt that I had to play that role. Otherwise, there was times where, I was scared and fragile inside too. So by playing that role, it allowed me to cope through that situation. And ultimately, that also it fed my passion to write more. And I used writing as my outlet to express my feelings.
As a vessel.
Correct.
I see. So your outlet was writing, which was also your therapy.
Correct.
Because you couldn't go to your family. You were supporting your family.
It's not that I couldn't go to my family, because they're there in a nutshell, in a heartbeat, they're there for me. It's more so I realized that they're a little bit more emotional than I was. So I felt that I needed to be the strong person. And every family, every person is different. That's the role that I needed to play. And that also helped me build my strength going through this. When I felt the time, I released my writings that I did around the time that I was going through the journey, and that's what you see today in the form of the blog on my website.
Right.
Yeah. So, in its bare essence, cancer doesn't just affect the person going through it.
No, it affects everybody around it.
It's everybody around it, all the friends, family that are around it. It's everybody's journey. I may have been the person going through it, but it affects everybody in the sense that they get it they get a wake-up call to just live their lives differently. And so, in retrospect, I'm happy that this experience, we were all able to just learn from it and want to lead a better life, to see what's important in life.
Are the people around you still as supportive towards you? Not
Absolutely. And, we don't take for granted the fact that we, as a family and friends, overcame this journey. So it just changes our whole outlook on life. And I think that is the best blessing in disguise that came out of this situation.
Now, there's another quote that really interested me on your website. And you said, and I quote, "What would be like living with cancer? It would be like living.
Yeah.
Living with no fear of dying." Can you please double click on this citation of yours? How have you dealt with the possible fear of death of a sick patient, which so many people adopt? So how did you overcome this moment?
Yeah. And I think it's very important, Sarah, what you just mentioned about, just to touch upon it, is how often it's easy to fall into that role of playing the victim when life deals you
throws
unfair.
your curve.
Exactly, when life throws you unfair cards. So for me, what allowed me not to fall into playing the role of the sick is just to ask myself one question, and that's what I encourage your viewers to ask yourself, is what other choice do you have at that point? This is something that's not in your control.
Right.
So at that, only God has those answers. So leave it to God to figure out what's the end result, and just focus on today, what do I need to do to get better? Adopting that positive mindset. Again, it's not going to solve your problems.
It's
but
not.
your journey through that will be that much easier.
That much, yeah.
Also, my faith in God, the support group that I had from my family, my friends, my fiance. I met her later on, but it was just at the end of my treatments. It all combined to get through a situation and to deal with it with that much ease. And my comments towards how I view death is, there's a very powerful scripture in my Holy Bible. It's Nanak Bhakta Sada Vikas Sunye Du Pap Ka Nas, which translates to know that the spirit is eternal is to lose the fear of mortality. And those are powerful words that always strike a chord with me. I believe that we're all energy.
Yes.
And our inner light, whatever you call it, source, soul, or whatever you refer to it, I believe that moves on to another form, even when we leave our physical bodies. So to have that idea and to live like that, that's what helps me deal with death.
And can you just double click on that quote, because I find it a very beautiful quote that you just said. And would you mind saying it again in Sanskrit?
Sure. So it was Nanak Bhakta Sada Vigas Sunye Du Pap Ka Nas, which again translates to know the spirit is eternal, is to lose the fear
of mortality. So if you were to double click on that thought, is to lose the fear of mortality, what would you tell our viewers? How would you explain that to a person that hasn't came from where you came from? But again, this is applicable to anybody and everybody in any situation and in any culture.
Absolutely. And part of it is, it usually takes near-death experiences to put you in
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, but that's the reality. That once life puts you in that situation, that's when you are left to just see the bigger picture and evaluate what you have going on in your life and how you want to lead your life. And you realize the small things that you stress about don't matter anymore.
Yeah.
And that's what also focuses your attention, that nothing is guaranteed. Death is a normal part of life. So once you remove that picture, yes, we're all going to die one day. If it happens today, it happens tomorrow, or 10 years or 50 years from now, that's a fact that we can't change. So why are we going to stress about that?
Absolutely.
And I just basically remove that power over me, and if it were going to happen tomorrow, so be it.
Absolutely. And I think it's very much applicable in terms of your mood as well, right?
Absolutely.
Why are you going to give the power to an individual to determine or change the way you're going to feel or how your day's going to unwrap?
100%.
Right? Be fully in control of who you are in your embodiment of your emotions, of your thoughts, and just embrace everything that comes with it and be yourself. throughout the process.
We're tested every day.
Absolutely.
Every day we're tested on how we're going to control our emotions. We're going to get people that are going to bring the worst out of us,
Yes.
and we're going to get people that are going to bring the best out of us. It's on us to just always maintain that same outlook.
Absolutely. And throughout any obstacles that come into your life, and most importantly, those obstacles are going to repeat themselves until you've learned your lesson and you've learned to deal with it in another way.
And that's the beauty of life, the constant path of learning.
Absolutely.
And we're human, we all make mistakes. That's the difference between God and us, that we do make mistakes. And to be able to just learn from them, I think that's where growth and just building your character comes in too.
Absolutely, I agree.